All right, hi there, and welcome to OPORD 1. This is lesson 07 from the MS202 Blackboard ROTC curriculum. My name is Captain Silver Beatty, and I will be leading you through this presentation. So to start off with, we've got our learning objectives for this lesson. It's pretty short. We're just going to explain the operations order, also known as the OPORD. We're going to describe the different types of orders that there are, and then we're going to identify the purpose and the characteristics of an OPORD. This lesson is not going to dive into the details of the different paragraphs of the OPORD. That will be in OPORD II. So what are orders? They are considered a communication, right? So they can be verbally given, written down, or signaled, hand and arm signals. Even simply something putting up your hand to say halt is technically an order. For the purpose of this particular class, we're going to talk more about verbal and written orders. Another thing about these, they convey instructions from a superior to a subordinate. So from somebody who's in charge of you, they are giving you orders. You are giving orders to your subordinates, those that directly report to you. Orders, regardless of what kind or what type we're talking about, they do follow what we call the 5-paragraph format. That is the standard for issuing any type of orders, and that includes your situation, your mission, execution, sustainment, and command and signal. Again, we won't go into the details of each of these paragraphs this class, but in the next lesson we will. One way to remember these, if you haven't already been told, the order of these paragraphs: sergeants major eat sugar cookies. That's how I've remembered it my entire career. Hopefully that's how you'll remember it too. Otherwise, come up with some sort of mnemonic to remember the actual order of these paragraphs. The last thing about orders is that how you issue them, whether you choose to do a verbal or written, is really at the discretion of yourself or your commander. Really, it's going to depend on your time and the situation that you're in. So that's how you'll know if you're going to receive or give a verbal or written order. A lot of times in ROTC, we're pretty used to receiving verbal orders if we're on a sticks lane, at an FTX, any kind of lane that we're working on. You'll receive a verbal order, you'll then distribute a verbal order. Unless you're talking about larger admin orders, large semester tactical orders, those are likely going to be written and given to you. So if we're talking about verbal orders, now there are advantages and disadvantages to just about everything in life. When we're talking about verbal orders, our advantages are that they can be used whenever we're operating in a very time-constrained environment. So it has to be done quickly. Verbal orders can be given quickly. They don't have to be typed out, printed, distributed, etc. So they offer that advantage of very rapid distribution. However, they do have the risk of having important information either being completely overlooked or misunderstood. And if you think about that, also think about like language barriers, accents, different ways that we talk quickly, different jargon. Shoot, even me being a millennial, I might misunderstand what some of you Gen Zers are trying to say. So verbal communication sometimes can have that issue of things being overlooked, completely misunderstood, misinterpreted. Then we'll talk about written orders. So these are actually typed out, written in some way. The advantages of this is that you can actually implement text and graphics. So you can implement your overlays, you can throw in their different annexes that show routes, etc. They also complement the written portion of a plan or an order with those text and graphics. Written orders also promote what we call clarity, accuracy, and brevity. So when you're writing it out, you can edit it, you can make it shorter, you can make it more concise. And then with that clarity and accuracy, what's written is the truth. So it's very clear, you can read over it if you're confused, you can read over it if you didn't quite understand, and it becomes more clear to you. And in that fourth part, shortens the time needed to gather and brief the orders. That's because you can distribute it rapidly as far as, via email, via text, via just handing out the papers to people. You don't actually have to gather everybody in. It's usually pretty quick to be able to just push out a written order. And they're easy to edit, so if you do have a mistake, you can just quickly edit and modify it electronically. One of the big disadvantages to written orders, though, is that sometimes they can become way too big without any added operational value. So it's important that if you are doing a written order, that you don't add the fluff, that you don't have way too much information in there. Keep your written orders just as concise as you would a verbal order. so we have three types of orders. We've been talking a lot about OPORD. We're going to discuss this entire lesson is about the OPORD or operations order, but technically there's three types. We've got a warning order, also known as a warnord or a warno. You could hear it called all three things. And then you have the fragmentary order or a fragord, frago. The reason I put them in this order is because ideally you receive a warning order first, a heads up, if you will, this is about to happen. Then you receive your operation order, which is all of the details of what your mission is, what the operation is, how you're going to conduct it. Those 5 main paragraphs are really going to be far more detailed. And then, as we all know, if you've been in ROTC for more than a day, you're likely going to receive what we call the fragmentary order, a frago. This is usually a change or a modification to the original op order. Sometimes that's as simple as something like your timeline changes. Your step-off time is changing. It can be as big as your entire mission is changing. So the order that you typically get these in, warno, then operations order, then your frago. So like I said, the warno is just your preliminary notice of some sort of an order or an action to follow. Your operation order is a full directive issued by a commander to their subordinates for the purpose of effecting the coordinated execution of the full operation. And then the frago is very abbreviated. It's issued as needed to change or modify the order or to execute a branch or sequel to the order. So if we're going right into the OPORD itself, the actual definition right there from JP 5-0, it's a directive issued by a commander to subordinate commanders for the purpose of effecting the coordinated execution of an operation. In layman's terms, it's just a full, here's what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're going to receive all of the things or get all the things we need to accomplish this mission. Down there, commanders issue op orders to direct the execution of both long-term operations as well as discrete short-term operations. So what this means is that you can have an op order that covers a long-term, week, month, years-long operation, but you can also have op orders that are just specific to a small, short-term mission within that long-term operation. So let's say you would have op order for a full FTX. You would also likely receive op orders, if not fragos, but you would likely receive op orders for each individual lane or each individual task that's happening during that FTX, whether it's land nav, patrol base operations, your sticks lanes, a range, if you will. So all of those are considered op orders. And then we've got our purposes of our op order. So they convey instructions. The whole purpose is to have it standardized, clear, and simple. Now, in the Army for more than a day, you know that sometimes op orders aren't exactly simple, but we consider the op order process and the 5 paragraphs a simple format to follow. The point of this is to focus on your subordinates' activities and permit them, your subordinates, to prepare their supporting their supporting orders to their teams, squads, platoons, etc. They also implement the instructions from a higher commander's order. So it's taking that order and putting instructions into place that you know how to complete what they're expecting of you. And all in all, it should provide the tasks and activities, any type of constraints, left and right limits, and coordinating instructions necessary to accomplish that mission. So by the book, those are your 5 purposes of your op order. They're standard and clear. They support subordinates' activities, help them to prepare their supporting orders. They implement instructions coming from higher, and they include your tasks, activities, constraints, and any other additional instructions that you need to accomplish that mission. Nice and broad. General characteristics, what we want to see out of an op order is that it has the critical facts. Like I said earlier, not necessarily fluff. We just need to know the critical facts of this mission or operation. They are written or given in an authoritative manner with positive expressions. They're clear, concise, to the point. They are complete. It is important that they are complete orders. We don't want to be issuing out orders that don't have all of the information. That would be more of a warno. But a full op order should be complete. they need to be flexible. So when we're looking at op orders, we're looking at, course of action 1, course of action 2. There needs to be something built in there for changes, because inevitably your plan is going to change, or things are going to pop up that you hadn't thought about or that nobody had seen coming. So you need to make sure that your op order itself is flexible and then timely. If you've been through the TLP class, lesson, I believe 04, 05, timeliness is very important when it comes to your op order itself. You need to make them quick, get it done, clear, obviously, cover all of the information that you have, but you need to do it in a way that's effective and efficient so that you still have time to complete any type of rehearsals and preparation for the mission itself. And that's it. That is OPORD 1 in a nutshell. Very quick, to the point. Explain the OPORD, what it is. We described the 3 types of op orders. You've got your Warno, your OPORD, your Frago, and then we just went through the purpose, the why of an op order, and the characteristics, what we want to see when it's written out and/or. So as always, if you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to your personal ROTC instructor, maybe an MS4, MS3. If you can't get your questions answered, feel free to email me at silver.beatty@mso.umt.edu, and I will do my best to help you out. Thank you.